Today I'm going to explore Maxiblocks, which is a plugin that is a massive upgrade for the Gutenberg editor in WordPress and gives you a ton of options and control, unlike anything I've seen before, embedded right into the Gutenberg editor. So log into your WordPress website, head on down to plugins and add new plugins. Then you're going to have to search for Maxiblocks. When you see this result pop up, click and install to get started. Once you're installed, there's a Maxiblocks menu item added down the left with some settings. We don't even need to go into this right now. You can go in and add in your Open AI key if you want to add some of Maxi's AI features, but I'm not going to look at that today. Basically, all we need to do is start, go to new page to see what we've got. Now I've got a typical Gutenberg page here. I can go Maxi test. And if I go to add some blocks, you'll notice under blocks, I've got all these new Maxiblocks in here. But this is more than just a series of blocks that you can add to your page. I can go up here, change the width of the content, even add a template. Now I am zoomed in. If I zoom out, it does have a little bit more information there next to it. So the template library, I'm going to zoom back in. Click on that. We've got a bunch of templates we can choose to use. I'm going to stick with free for now. We'll check out some of the pro templates later, but I can go in and add in one of these templates to work with. So we get something like this, insert. And you see if we scroll down, we've got our images here. We can click on these and change them. But every single one of these has a few more options than your typical Gutenberg block. By clicking on this image, you see we've got some information here. We've got the mover, so we can actually resize pretty easily. We've got a whole bunch of other options here. You can add a box shadow, dynamic content, so things like featured images, custom fields, things like that, links. We've got a whole bunch of more options. If I go to the sidebar over here, if I go to the block, there is all these extra options here. So I would say, first of all, if you're looking at using Maxiblocks, it's a really awesome tool if you're someone who wants to have total control, a ton of detail to work with. You get so many options here. The dimensions, alignment, alt tag, caption, hover effects if you want to have a hover effect, shape mask, you can actually add a shape mask. So if I go load shape library, you can choose a shape such as this Brutalism 12 and actually have the image contained in a shape. Adding in borders. There's all of these options you can play with. And keep in mind, I'm still using the free version. I haven't actually applied my pro account to this yet. But you can see by clicking on any of these, all of the different options are available, very detailed. It's not something I can cover everything in this video, but it does show you the level of control you have. So this text here, I can go into heading / paragraph tag and choose, these are standard Gutenberg options, presented a little differently, but just with a few more options. One thing you'll notice though is we have things like padding here we can play with. So I can change this padding if I want to, make it bigger or smaller. We get more visual options. But I'm going to actually just click on this area and remove this block altogether. And we're going to start a little bit simpler and explore from there. So to start off with, I am going to add a container. I'm going to go to plus and I'm going to add my container maxi. And from there, I can add in a number of columns. So let's go with something like this one here. And then we have more options that sprout off from that. Let's go with a little bit of a 70-30 type split over here. And we have our columns. I'm going to quickly add in an image. For now, I'm going to stick with the normal Gutenberg image just to keep things simple, but we'll be able to play with that a bit later. In here, I'm going to add in some Gutenberg text. And we're going to replace these as we go, as a little bit of a comparison. So we've got a paragraph here, and I'm just going to give it type some text. So I've got some text in here, and I've got some columns. You can do this in Gutenberg already, but let's start to look at what else we can do. Straight away, if I hover outside onto this container, you can see I've got padding, 20 pixels. I can just drag that down and create more padding if I want to. Now, padding is the space inside the container. If you were to change the margin, that is the space outside the container. But we've got all these other options that pop up as well. So I can move this around. There's not really anywhere to move it because there's only one block on there. I can change the background color. And we've got some standard colors here. So click orange, black, blue. I can set a custom color. So maybe we go with a light blue, or something like that. We can change the typography or the size of the container, I should say. At the moment it's large. Make it extra small. It becomes quite narrow. We're just going to stick with large. And we've got all these different options for the container, which means we can take more control of the design of this. The size, we can enable full width or turn it off. And we can add a context loop, so if you want to sort of program a blog, a little bit more advanced, add in links, duplicate, go from there. So now we have an area selected here. Now if I bring up my sidebar, I'm going to zoom out so we don't get this sort of mobile reshuffling. I'll click on here, and then I've got my column section. If I click on that, I can go into column settings, and this column is 80% wide. I'm going to bring it down to about 60% and bring this particular column with the image at the moment, bring the column up to about 38%. If it goes too big, it will stack top and bottom, but you get the idea. So we can control our column width very directly with direct percentages. We've got all these other options, scroll effects, that kind of thing. I can play around with that, the opacity. I can really go in depth with all of these settings. So we've got some normal text here. Now if I want to get rid of this, I'm going to remove this text. This time I'm going to go to add, browse all, and we're going to go with text maxi. Shut that down. So now we have our text maxi light. I'm going to click in here, add in. So now I have some more ipsum in there. Again, I can edit this text. I can edit so many different pieces of this. The size, the line height, change the letter spacing. It can be a bit full on, but for some people who want complete control, if you're someone who wants complete control and you can get used to this layout, then everything is literally at your fingertips, and it's very easy to make these little updates. If I want to add a link, it's pretty easy. I can hover, add my link in there. We get a few options like no follow, open a new tab, sponsored. We're just going to leave that in there for now. And now we have our link. And of course, all of our options on the right here. So we get a lot of freedom to play. So if you understand things like how to use a flexbox, for instance, if you're a web designer, a little bit more advanced, you can go in there and do that. Now we've got advanced over here. Let's go to settings, heading or paragraph tag. We're going to stick with paragraph. Background. We can add a background layer. So add a background color, image. Let's add a background image. Set image. Add something like this, which is not going to look very good, but it shows you how you can add images into this area. And of course, if you're going to add something in the background, the text is going to be pushed right up to it. We're going to go to margin and padding, and we want to increase our padding to bring the text in away from the edge. Now with our background, we can add in more. I mean, for one, I can take that background opacity down. I'll bring it back up. We've got all these options that come with the background, but we can add another layer and choose a color. So this time we've got white. I'll choose orange, and I'll bring that opacity down. And here's the cool part. If we collapse these, we've got these two background layers. We can click on this icon and reshuffle. So this layer is first and the background image is second. Now, if you're used to using something like Photoshop where what's on top displays on top, this is actually the inverse. I bring this down and the orange sits over the top of the image. And of course, the text itself, under typography, I can make that white. And of course, I need to select the text itself, make the text white, and we got that there. Still a bit hard to read, so let's just bring that typography back, add that background layer, bring that opacity up, and now we have a block like this. Now with our image, we're going to delete that image and add in, under browse all, an image maxi. Now I have the image selected, and I have again all these options, but I do need to choose an image. I can upload an image as I normally would, so let's pop, say, this image in here. This came with the layout we added in before. Now here's what's really cool. We've got our normal settings here, like dimension, original size, fit on wrapper, so it brings it up to the size of the column, and it's actually kind of like got a nice even layout. Things like alignment, hover effects. I can add a hover animation, so we get this little zoom. Now it doesn't actually have to be a zoom. We can change the effect from a zoom in to a flashing, to clear sepia. There's all these little effects we can add in that are pretty cool. I'm going to go slide. I think that's pretty cool also, but we'll go back to zoom in because I think that's a really nifty little effect there. Now shape mask is something that's very cool too. If we load shape library, there's all these different shapes we can choose to contain our image within. So if I want to choose something like this Brutalism 76, I can have it sit in an arrow, or I can remove that, choose a different image, such as this diamond, and it's contained within the diamond. So there's some really nifty effects you can add to your images. And again, I can't go through all this, so this video will go for hours, but we can change the margin, the padding, add a box shadow in there, crank up that opacity a bit. And we have a shadow behind the image. Now the blur, we can bring the blur down, adjust the distance, and these are basically your CSS settings. I'm going to actually just type the number here, 15. Opacity down again, and that looks pretty good. And while we're working on this, we can actually go into the preview a new tab, and this is what we got so far. And this is just playing with a couple of the basic bits and pieces of Maxiblocks. So I head back, and let's continue to have a play with what this can do. I'm going to hit plus again, browse all. We've got buttons, things like that. Let's add in a button. So again, we have so many. We've got box shadow, so we can add in a shadow again. So many different elements. And I can take the mover icon here, move it up underneath this. Now keep in mind, I can't put it into the orange because this is the text module. So I'm adding this below, but I can decide if I want to choose the column. And I can add a background to the column. Add a new layer, background color, choose black. Also change button margin. Now the margin is set to not much. If I increase the padding, it may make the button a bit big. So I'm going to just go with margin for now. You can see how we were able to create some space around the button. Because I like that effect, the button text. Click here so we can create some buttons. The amount of options here, it's pretty crazy. There's also some quick styles. So if I want to, I can choose something like this. Standard, pill shape, even just a simple social media icon. I can even go into the icon and change the icon, replace it, and then you've got a good 500 icons almost in here that we can choose from. You just simply have a little happy face icon. So you can see how easy it is to take a little bit more control and build some visual pages. So I've gone back to a blank page. I'm going to go to add, browse all, and now we have our template library over here. Or again, if I want to, I can go up here and add in from the template library there. I'm going to go into Pro over here, and I need to sign in with my Pro user email, so I'll quickly do that. So now I'm signed in, and I can actually go in and add some of these Pro templates. Now some of these look pretty impressive. Some of them are a little more visual, like this one, and I can actually view tablet, mobile, see how it all stacks, and insert. And I can keep going from there. Insert. So now we have our page. Now one thing I want to point out too, there's a lot of orange in this. So I've got my template. If I click on this icon, I can change the icon fill color to a custom color, like lime or whatever I want. You're not just stuck with orange. So it might look or appear as if everything is in orange, but you actually do have that option to choose different colors to fill these icons in with. So you can see just how easy it is. I can still take any of these here. I can click on this background, go to the background layer, and it has black overlaying this image. I can change this image at any time to this. Just go straight back up to my background layer here. Once again, I'm going to collapse these, move this one above, make that semi-transparent or just a little bit transparent. So changing background images and things like that, it's actually pretty easy. So I hope that's given you a bit of an idea of just some of the options behind Maxiblocks. I don't want to go too deep because it's just going to take too long. It's such an in-depth looking piece of software. There's so much available to work with. What I would say is if this has piqued your curiosity, install Maxiblocks for free, have a play, and then if you want to work with some of these pro templates, you don't even need the pro templates to make this work really well, but you can always go ahead and sign up for that too. There is a link in the description to their website if you want to check that out, sign up for pro, or even just have a look. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider giving it a like, and I've got some more WordPress tutorials on my channel if you want to check those out. Otherwise, have a great day. I hope to see you again soon.